I've made a video about why Rise of Red is bad, and this is a video about why Wicked Wonderland is less bad, focusing on 5 different categories. Number 1, the songs. I've seen a lot of love for this soundtrack, and while I think it's fine is kind of the only feeling I have for it. I don't know how to describe it, but I just think the music, and especially the vocals, are so overproduced, which makes the songs feel hollow. I saw a TikTok video that started with "Did you hear about them?" from this movie, and I was like, yeah, this is a bop, great song, loving it. And then it transitioned into "It's Going Down" from Descendants 2, and they were just like not even comparable. The Descendants 2 soundtrack absolutely tops. I don't care what anyone says. The first song of the movie is Perfect Princess. It worked well as an opening song, better than the opening for the last movie did. It's catchy, sets the tone well, and introduces the new characters and how the original characters have changed in an interesting way. I'm so happy that we're back to a big choreographed group number as the opening. I think because of the huge ensemble, this song feels less hollow than some of the others do. While this is a fun way of introducing new characters, I do feel like there's a few too many. Pink, Robbie, Louis, Max, Hazel, Felix, and both the Smee twins. That's basically like half the cast in less than a minute. This is kind of a problem I have with the movie overall, but I'll get onto that in the next section. The next song is Mad. Apparently lots of people like this, which I don't understand. The production and vibes are so off, I just really dislike the whole thing, especially because they released the girls' version already, which is so much better. The vibes just don't match the vibes of the rest of the soundtrack. I will say it does a good job narratively of introducing how Maddox will try to stop them. It starts raising the stakes and introducing the main conflicts of the movie. The next song is Did You Hear About Them? I was unsure the first time I watched this movie, but the song grew on me the second time I watched it, and I think maybe it might be one of my faves from the movie now. It's basically a dance battle, and I'm kind of really here for that. I also like the Spanish influences in the music, which makes it more memorable than a lot of the other songs. I also liked how Red switches between both teams, showing how she's stuck between being a HK or a VK, and I wish that was developed more outside of just this song, because that could have been a really interesting character development point for her. Then it's Dancing with the Enemy. This song is the standout song when it comes to the hollow vibe I mentioned earlier. I think it's the vocal production in this song which sounds just lacking, like it feels like they're singing from a distance. I don't really understand what's happening in this song either, or the scene, because they say it's a game of chess, and then Robbie steps on a square and gets blown away, but then everyone else moves off their squares, and they're fine. And then they have another dance battle, but they don't play chess at all, and then there's this big tower that comes out the ground, and then Red stands on the tower, then all the knights disappear and they win the game. So I don't really understand what's happening or how or why. And I also don't understand why Red used Chloe as bait for the flower when Hazel was literally already stood there. They just needed a reason to advance Red and Chloe's conflict. The song is fine, but it's a little bit forgettable. I haven't had it stuck in my head or caught myself humming it since it came out. I just wouldn't call it a banger, you know? The next song is For Once in My Life, which is the duet between Red and Louis. I don't really have much to say about it. It's cute and sweet, but again, it doesn't strike me as a song I'll ever think about or remember again. But the setting of the glowing plants is very pretty and sets the tone and the mood of the song really well, and I like the choreography as well. The song kind of reminds me a little bit of Sunday from Zombies, but if that song was less catchy. The next song is The Girl I Used to Be. Not much to say about this one either. I'm not sure if it's the song I like or if it's the actors and their killer voices, and I kind of wish they sang a little bit more about their friendship rather than about their daughters, but I get why they don't, because, you know, the story. Then we have another duet between Max and Chloe. The lyrics in this song is what ruin it for me. There is like none, zero nuance in the lyrics. They are telling me everything and showing me nothing. This isn't like exactly uncommon for the franchise, but for some reason in this song it bothered me so much more. It also fell a little flat for me emotionally because Chloe's lead up to this emotional climax felt just like lackluster and undeserving, but I'll talk about that more in a bit. The next song is the closest we get to a ballad in either of these two movies, which is Who Am I? The song starts off slow and sad, and I was kind of like, yeah, another forgettable song. But then Red starts to get more frustrated and angry, and I got so excited. It was so good. I loved it. And then that bit is over so quickly. It makes me so annoyed. I cannot even. Kylie's voice sounded so good, and she was really getting into it. And then she just like freezes and stops singing, and like she's awkwardly just like holding her hands above her head. Just ruins the moment. I really wish there was a full extended version of this song, like there is of If Only or Once Upon a Time, but no such luck. The final song in the movie is Go Live It. I don't really have many notes on this song, but it's definitely an improvement to the ending of Rise of Red. And it's on par with the other Descendants closing songs, and none of those are really standouts in their soundtrack either, but it does well for its purpose. After speaking through all these songs, it just becomes so clear that, for me, most of these songs are just kind of forgettable. They don't really stick with me at all. I'm not sure why that is, because I definitely do like them more than Descendants 4, but something is missing, and unfortunately I cannot tell you what. Maybe somebody who knows something about music production could, but that's just not me. Number 2, the characters. So bearing in mind that the main character of this new era is Red, I had absolutely zero notes on her character after watching this movie multiple times. I feel like she has very little development from the last movie, and all of her personality traits remain at the same level. And with the addition of all these new characters, I feel like her individual development got pushed to the side. Like I mentioned before, she had an opportunity to explore how all the changes have really affected her, but her song was cut short. And there was a moment we saw her struggling between whether she's more aligned with the villains and the heroes, but it's not explored nearly enough for me to have anything to say about it. There was definitely development and emotional points the writing could have focused on, but instead that time went to 2 different dance battles. Chloe is slightly less insufferable in this film. I like her development from the first movie in the way that there's evidence that she's less obsessed with following the rules and doing the right thing. She crashes out a few times about how her mum is different, and she keeps saying how different her mum is, but Cinderella low-key seems like exactly the same. And then she's arguing with Red and exclaims that she's drowning. And I'm kind of just like, drowning in what? Because most of the people around her have it way worse. Like all the VKs who actually have horrible parents, and Red who's just got her mum back and then her mum's been kidnapped. So it makes her come off as like really self-absorbed, like Red says to her. Evil Chloe definitely had potential. I maybe would have more to say about her evil version, but she just didn't have enough time to do much. Pink is the first new character we're introduced to. I really do love how just dramatic and exaggerated her character is. She definitely provides a good contrast to Red, and kind of maybe how I see it as a glimpse into who Red might have been if she'd had a different upbringing. I don't quite see why she suddenly doesn't like being perceived or called sweet. Kind of comes out of nowhere, and I'd like to see her maybe resolve this feeling a little bit better by the end if they're gonna bring it up. Louis is kind of just a little bit of a wet blanket boyfriend. Doesn't really have much personality compared to the other characters, and he spends a lot of time complaining about the expectations people have for him because of his mother, but he is really strong, so I don't really get what his problem is. Max. I like the plot of him not wanting to be perceived as being in league with his dad. He doesn't play into being evil or overly mean like Red did in the last film, which makes him much more likeable. And when he crashes out, he's very valid. And I feel like because they've made me like his character, I do feel kind of bad for him. I really wish he was in the first movie, so I felt it even more. I wish that he was friends with Red, instead of Red being best friends with his dad. Kind of just makes Maddox look like a creep. And again, his ending feels rushed. Like he's holding the pocket watch, he's ready to use it, and then he almost dies, and then Red and Chloe save him, and then all is forgiven and he doesn't want to change the past anymore. Yeah, okay. Hazel is the glowing star of this film. She is the comic relief, but in a bearable way. She has some great one-liners. She has the sass, the sarcasm, like the Hook family is definitely needed in these films. She kind of acts as the tough love self-help guide. And some of the characters could definitely use that. She talks a little bit about what it's like having Captain Hook as a father when she talks to Chloe, giving a slight glimpse into her character depth, but not enough for it to really mean anything. They did lobotomise the Queen of Hearts just a little. She's too sweet, a little brain dead, her head is filled with sugar. We see a little bit of grit when she argues with Maddox when he captures her, and then her old self comes out for a second at the end. I just wish they hadn't just dumbed her down so much, that she had been able to mature from her teenage self and become more of a queenly adult, rather than just an even more exaggerated version of her teenage self. Because I feel like Pink has already fulfilled that role of always being sweet and nice and girly and bubbly. And then Felix and Robbie. Literally, why are they here? They did nothing. This is a huge group of characters. There is no time for them. They don't need to be here. If you've noticed, a problem with a lot of the characters is that there just isn't any emotional development for them. And if they are, they feel random, incomplete and shallow because there just isn't enough time to explore all of the characters. They either needed to have less characters or focus in more on some characters and less on others, rather than trying to make it feel like an ensemble. Number 3, the relationships. Red and Chloe. Chloe getting mad at Red is low-key such an overreaction. I understand that Red ignoring her ideas and suggestions would make her mad. She acts like it's this huge betrayal. She's like, I thought I knew Red. But she's literally known her for 3 days. So her reaction just seems out of proportion for their relationship. They've literally spent most of their friendship arguing or getting annoyed at each other, and it just doesn't seem like the two are compatible. Opposites can attract, but they just have such different world outlooks. I don't buy that they should be friends at all. I'm done. Red and Pink. Again. Pink getting upset and calling out Red for thinking that she's dumb comes massively out of nowhere. It makes sense that she'd feel like this a little bit, but I just wish we'd seen those feelings develop earlier on. Her feeling left out and unimportant is another development point that could have been really interesting. But it's like Red gives her one hug and then Pink's over it and everything's fine again. I am happy that Red remembered Pink near the end, and I hope we see them have more sibling-sister interaction, because they feel quite distant for most of this movie, but I think that's mainly down to Red not remembering Pink. Red and Louis. It's cute that Louis checks in on Red after Chloe is mean, and I'm glad that they didn't try to push it too fast and then all of a sudden they're in love. But I feel like in this timeline, the two were already friends, before they went to Wonderland. So Louise should know Red a lot better than she knows him, as she doesn't remember this life yet. But they don't really bring that up at all. I'll talk about that later when we get to the plot section. Chloe and Max. I've seen a lot of love for this ship, but honestly, their only interaction of note is when they both turn evil and are using each other for their own gain. Neither of them are acting like their normal selves during these moments, so I have no reason to believe that the actual characters should be friends or romantic interests. Hazel and Chloe. These two definitely have great potential together. There is definitely friction and tension between them, which is fun to watch. And then there's also moments like when Hazel saves Chloe from the flower and Hazel gives her some advice, even if it's a little bit of tough love. And then Hazel opens up to Chloe about herself a little more. That really does show potential for it to develop into a friendship or maybe something more in the next movie. Number 4, the sets. This is a short category because I actually had so much beef with the sets in the last film. They bugged me so much, and I'm happy to say that I thought these sets are much better. I'm so glad that we returned to the OG Oridon Prep building for the opening. It's a shame that we weren't there for longer because she's so beautiful, but I get that we have to move the plot on. And because the characters are constantly moving forward, we're not stuck in one place for half the movie, so it's so much more just visually interesting. The sets feel more of appropriate size, so much less empty than they did in Rise of Red, and I really love how colourful and vibrant Wonderland is, especially at night time. It looked really cool. And if it did look fake or indoorsy, like I felt with a lot of the sets in Rise of Red, it bothered me less because it's Wonderland. It doesn't need to look realistic. It's all magic. It's magic. It's beautiful when it's magic. And number 5, the plot. The plot for this movie doesn't actually feel that compelling on its own. It feels like a lot is happening, but it's really just this superficial game, challenge, maze thing that Maddox has created. The actual plot moves slowly, like Maddox captures the Queen, and then they spend a huge chunk of the movie trying to rescue her. And then Chloe turns evil a little bit, and then they rescue the Queen. The plot is quite predictable, and there isn't anything I found shocking or exciting, but that could just be because Evil Chloe was the worst kept secret ever. The focus definitely seems to be more on the characters, which I don't have a problem with at all. I just wish that the characters had better, full-rounded development, and then I would have zero complaints about this aspect of the movie. What plot there is just too similar to Descendants 3, like putting everyone to sleep, fighting their knights, trapping her in the house, hiding out in someone's cottage, an HK turning evil, the evil person yelling into things in their evil hideout, their HKs teaming up begrudgingly with the VKs and then becoming friends. All of these are things I have seen before. And then we have the problems with the time travel. The first is that Fairy Godmother has to explain exactly what Maddox did and his whole backstory to Red in this very info-dumpy kind of way. But as princess and heir of Wonderland, she'd expect Red to know this information already. From the opening song, it seems like this reality's Red acted differently, like the HK perfect princess they actually think she is. And like Louis and Robbie are already her friends in this timeline. So I feel like them and Pink and everyone else should be more concerned that she's acting so differently and also doesn't seem to know anything she should or even remember them. The film also doesn't solve the plot hole from the last film that I talked about before. If anything, it just adds to it. If Maddox remembers seeing them arrive in the past, then Bridget and Ella should also have some memory of them. Like I said in my other video, them being around during the lead up to Castle Coming, where Ella fell in love with Charming and getting Ella in trouble, and when Uliana turned into a flamingo, they're all pretty memorable things. So they're likely to remember the girls who were there when that all happened. It just feels like they half-assed the time travel thing and just wanted to advance the plot and ignore all of the generally accepted time travel rules that were an inconvenience to how they wanted the plot to go. And it's a little bit frustrating. I'm not sure if we've left the time travel thing behind for the next movie. But I don't trust that well that they threw the pocket watch in to keep that pocket watch locked away. And that pocket watch was glowing as it went down the hole.